All right.
Okay, welcome into the engine on a Skype call. It's a dire circumstance, but it is what it is. We're here. We're talking about. There's a lot of news about NFL free agency. We're excited to have you with us, Johnny Fogel, Nick Freeman, Nick Falk. As you can see on the call here, we're getting more announcements as you can hear in the background. But we're going to be going in two videos: NFC news and AFC news. How we feel about each free agency signing. This, that, and whatever. But yeah, Nick Freeman, anything else?
Yeah, so obviously coronavirus is going on. First off, thoughts and prayers to everyone affected by it. We're going to be doing these Skype calls. We figured this is a great time to deliver content because as we're in quarantine, we're all bored and we love talking about sports. Also, it's probably a great time to watch it because I assume everyone's bored. And
Yeah.
we'll probably be posting more often than we had in the past. Even we're sorry we haven't been here in a few weeks. School was shut down. It was all confusion, but we're back and we're going to start out with NFC North.
Yeah, we're going by division, by the way, for each team in free agency and trades.
Yeah.
So with that,
all right. Even though everyone's talking about how sports are going to be terrible, we're lucky we had a very eventful free agency. It's still going on, but it's towards the end. So
one of the best free agencies in a while.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I digress. We're going to go division by division, NFC to AFC in two different videos. And yeah, with that said, let's get it started with the Chicago Bears in the NFC North. The first thing we're going to be talking about, it happened earlier today. Nick Foles, former Super Bowl MVP, acquired in a trade from the Jacksonville Jaguars in exchange for a fourth-round pick. Nick Freeman, the Bears fan, first thoughts on this trade?
So it seems after the Teddy Bridgewater talk didn't go through, it seemed as if the three options were Nick Foles, Cam Newton, and Andy Dalton. With Cam Newton, he's definitely the most talented of the three. I didn't trust his injury risk. That's probably why he's not found a starting gig yet.
Yeah.
Due to the coronavirus, there was a report. Due to the coronavirus, they're not allowed to give physicals to the players. And I think with Cam Newton, if you're not giving him a physical, it's too much of a risk to give him the $19 million. So I kind of like the Foles idea. I think he's better than Dalton. He's getting paid a lot. He just signed a 4-year, $88 million deal with the Jaguars. The Bears are trying to restructure that. But even if he doesn't end up starting over Trubisky, giving him that pressure and that playoff experience, I think is really going to help out a win-now team.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. So when I initially saw the trade, I was like, oh my God, the Bears did it again. This is another stupid move. And because everyone was looking
fourth-round pick for it.
Yeah, and everyone was looking for the big starter to come in, like a Tom Brady or something like that, to lead the Bears to a Super Bowl with their amazing defense. But, I mean, they put all of their money, all of their trust in Trubisky, and this is a trade showing that this is Trubisky's last chance, and it's there to push him. So you're not completely abandoning Trubisky with this, but also if he does happen to suck still, then Foles will be a solid starter and could possibly win with that defense.
This is probably a position battle where whoever they brought in is destined to win.
It's a battle of two backup quarterbacks. I mean, last year Mitch Trubisky was.
But Nick Foles is probably the best NFL backup ever.
Quarterback.
When he was a backup.
I agree with you, but when he was a backup, not when he's a starter. He hasn't.
But he can be a great leader for this team.
Potentially.
We'll see.
Potentially. Moving on for the Bears.
Oh, are we grading it, or are we just gonna?
What grade would you give this?
I'd give it a B. It was pretty good. I mean, I wish we went for Bridgewater earlier. That's my one.
I give it an A- because that was good for what they had to work with.
I think we could have gotten Bridgewater with the same money we're giving Foles, and we wouldn't have to give a pick for it, which just kind of makes me question it.
But I'm not sure Bridgewater would want to be in a situation like Chicago with Trubisky as his backup and threatening his job.
Well, moving on with the Bears. Jimmy Graham signed a 2-year deal worth $16 million. This doesn't have to be that long of a discussion. I think combined I think he was on the Packers for 3 years, and he caught 8 balls against the Bears in total over 3 years. Initial thoughts, Nick Freeman?
He hasn't produced in a few years. More
Yeah.
than a few years.
A few is.
I
a few is
really hate this. I mean, the Bears, when you look at their team overall, tight end, even though they're terrible, is a hole you can fix in the draft. Getting a guy like Jimmy Graham really isn't going to do that. If you're wasting your money 2 years, $16 million on Graham, they need to be more focused on those under the radar cornerbacks. They just lost Prince Amukamara. They don't have a second safety, really. They need a second safety because Clinton Dix is going to leave. No one signed him yet. And they need an interior offensive line because Kyle Long just retired. Getting a tight end, even though they don't have any firepower at that position, isn't really going to help in the win-now situation, especially when it's a tight end who just doesn't produce.
And they drafted Allen 2 years ago. He's awful, but it makes no sense. This is a D-. It really is confusing, and I haven't seen one person thinking this was actually a good move because he's not a serious weapon anymore.
I haven't talked to anybody who's thought this was a good move and they were happy about it. But moving on, Robert Quinn agreed to a 5-year, $70 million contract for the Chicago Bears. He's an edge rusher. Nick Freeman, initial thoughts?
Okay, originally I was really mad. You're signing a going to be 30-year-old edge rusher who's pretty good, but he had an incredible season in 2013. Since then, it's just been medium, which when you're hearing that, a guy who hasn't been great in 7 years, getting a $70 million deal sounds ludicrous. But now that I think about it, with Khalil Mack being a free agent next year, or in 2 years, or getting rid of Leonard Floyd, it's honestly just an upgrade over Leonard Floyd. It brings more firepower to that defensive line. And another part about his contract, it's only $30 million guaranteed, and there are different parts where the Bears could opt out. So even though on paper it looks like a ton of money, they really aren't necessarily, if he's not producing that well.
It says it's only $30 million. It's only $30 million in guaranteed money. So.
Yeah, I hate this deal. I understand where you're coming with. It's an upgrade over Leonard Floyd, but he just doesn't even fit in the scheme. The reason he was so good in 2013 was he's a defensive end with his hands in the line of scrimmage. And whenever he plays outside linebacker, he just doesn't work. So that's how the Bears scheme works. And why would you he should not have gotten anywhere near that amount of money. And that year, he's 30 years old, about to turn 31. And they give him 5 years with a lot of money.
He did have a last year, but
it's not like the Bears have a lot of cap space either. They can't really afford to do this. So I thought it was a very bad move, and this will probably haunt them for years, in my opinion.
I think
it seems like the opinion from Nick Freeman is more of an opinion of an optimistic Bears fan, and Nick Falk's opinion is more like of a realistic opinion fan. You know what I mean? But
I just think he brings so much firepower to this Bears defense, even though he doesn't fit in a 3-4 scheme, which he's going to have to do, probably.
I think there's much better options then.
Last year, Khalil Mack only had like 6 sacks. Even though he's such a firepower edge rusher, you need someone on the opposite to get pressure, to make everyone look a little better. And Leonard Floyd wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
Yes, but Akeem Hicks was hurt for most of the year. And Khalil Mack was just getting double, triple teamed.
I understand where you're coming from, but the Bears can't afford to do this. They can't afford to just pay someone like this because it's a great upgrade, and Khalil Mack definitely needs some help, but there's other options that are much cheaper and probably just as expensive but much better.
Too many years. I'd give it a B- C+.
Right. I'd give it a D.
Moving on, Danny Trevathan, 3-year extension worth $21.75 million.
I'm happy.
Happy with this?
I'm fine with it. I don't know. It's not a great move. It's not a bad move. See,
I don't really think it affects. I don't think anybody's upset about it. I don't think anybody's I don't think anybody cares that much.
He's getting older, but.
Moving on to other teams in the NFC North.
By the way, before we move on, earlier we said we were going to do this by conference. We're actually just going to do it by division.
Yeah, it just makes more sense that way. Yeah.
So we're going to do
we're in the NFC North. Next team, Detroit Lions. Jamie Collins, former Brown, former Patriot, and then former Patriot again, agreed to terms with the Lions on a 3-year, $30 million deal. Former Patriot comes to a former Patriot coach. Seems like we're going to be seeing this a lot. It looks
especially
like. Especially
the Lions. Yeah.
Especially with the Lions.
They keep bringing in Patriots.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this?
Just
What was Collins' contract?
3 or 30.
3 or 30 million, and it's 18 million guaranteed.
I kind of like it. They just got rid of Devin Kennard. I don't know. Jamie Collins was really bad not on the Patriots, so that needs to worry you a little bit. But he was a really solid off-ball linebacker last year. He's pretty versatile. I think Matt Patricia, since he was with the Patriots, will know how to use him. So I'm pretty impartial with it. They get another linebacker in a position they desperately need.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't trust that he's going to be good not on the Patriots. The Browns cut him. He's 30 years old. He's a solid player, but you really need to. The Lions have a lot of needs, and I felt like they could have spent. They have a lot of money too, but I feel like they could have spent a little bit more money on someone else.
Also,
for example, Chase Daniel. Yeah, keep talking.
Last year he started out the season really great, and then he was just falling off a cliff towards the end, which didn't go very noticed because he's on the Patriots. But
yeah. I think I'd give this C+. It feels a solid need, so it's not that bad.
I agree.
Yeah. Moving on. Desmond Trufant, we were talking about this before the show started, just signed with the Lions on a 2-year, $21 million deal. And Nick Freeman, I think you were the first one to say that you think Desmond Trufant's a little washed.
He is. He started out, his rookie season was his best season. The beginning of his career was really great. He's fallen off a little every year. I don't mind this, honestly. It's a 2-year deal. There's not too much risk involved. And I think you can never invest too much in your secondary, especially with a guy who's shown the tools. We don't know how the Falcons utilized him towards the end, or if they utilize him right. So I'm okay with it. It's pretty average. We'll see.
I'm fine with it. I would have preferred a rebuilding team like the Lions to invest in a younger player. There isn't that many young corners left in the market, but I'm fine with it. I give it a B minus.
Yeah, another aspect, assuming they keep Darius Slay or draft Jeff Okudah, you will not have to go against number 1 wide receivers, which is a big upgrade from last time. So
he definitely is nowhere near he was known as one of the best corners in the league in the first 3 years of his career, so he's nowhere near that right now. But he's still a solid corner.
I pray that I pronounce this right, but Halapuya.
No chance
I'm going to pronounce it right. Outside, he's an offensive tackle, agreed to a 5-year, $50 million deal with the Lions.
Yeah, from the Eagles. I actually like it.
Halapulavati Vaitai.
All right, we've got a professional reader in the room. Anyways, how are we feeling about this?
I like it, actually. It's a young offensive tackle. He's pretty versatile, and he's pretty strong. This is one of my favorite underrated moves of the offseason. I give this a B+. It's a lot of money for someone who hasn't played a ton. He was a backup for a few years in the Eagles system, but when replacing Jason Peters
He's never started.
He started a couple times when Jason Peters gets injured like every other play. So
yeah, that's kind of true.
Yeah. So I'm fine with it. It's a shock to some people that he really hasn't proven himself and he's getting this big deal, but I think it's an underrated move.
I'm actually okay with it.
Okay.
He is gonna fill in the spot for Rick Wagner, who they just cut. They need tackle play. I think it's too much money for a backup tackle, but when he was on the field, he was really solid. Also, with the new CBA, players are going to get paid more as seasons go on, so locking a solid offensive tackle, if he is solid, for 5 years is a big advantage.
There's been a lot of long-term contracts for younger players because of the new CBA, which is smart by teams.
I'd give it a C+.
I'd give it a B.
B. Okay. Moving on to the next team in this division, the Green Bay Packers, the hometown team. They signed Christian Kirksey, linebacker, signed to a 2-year, $16 million deal.
Back to the Lions. One other thing, Ashawn Robinson just left to go to the Rams, their defensive tackle. That's kind of breaking news. So they're pretty thin there. Okay. Packers,
Christian Kirksey, linebacker, signed a 2-year, $16 million deal. A lot of people are saying that they need a receiver, but it's kind of a thin receiver free agency.
Yeah.
pool, but this is maybe the best receiver draft I've ever seen in my entire life. So
Yeah,
here we are.
that's exactly the thinking. I'm fine. I don't think the Packers should have gone out and gotten one of these free agent receivers. Emmanuel Sanders is left, but I don't know if that would be a good fit there. I'm fine with this move. I don't know if they necessarily need it. They lost Blake Martinez, of course.
And Kyler Fackrell to the Giants, but they weren't really they didn't really do anything. Like Blake Martinez, yes, did he lead the league in tackles multiple times? Yes. However, he doesn't really he just gets.
He's not great. He's overrated. We forgot to mention earlier, Nick Wachowski left the Bears, so Danny Trevathan's good to lock him up.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's solid.
With Christian Kirksey, there's a reason he got cut. He's not very good, but if you need him,
it's kind of true.
I guess he's at his best can be average, and they had no linebackers, so hopefully they'll be able to upgrade in the draft or take someone probably in the second or third round to help out. But I don't mind it. It's like a B-.
Yeah, same with me.
Pretty low risk deal.
All right, moving on. Offensive tackle Rick Wagner has agreed to terms with the Packers. The money has not been updated into here, not the point. Packers get Rick Wagner. Yeah. They let Brian Bulaga walk. What are our thoughts on this?
So this is literally a downgrade from Bulaga. I don't know if there was some I don't really understand it. I think I would give this a C-, because why not hold on to Bulaga? I don't care if it's a little bit more money. Rick Wagner is a straight downgrade, and you need pass blocking for Aaron Rodgers. I don't
think it was about the money. More or less, it was about Bulaga gets hurt a lot. Bulaga is very, very, very injury prone, and it was one of those situations where I have this phone and it's going to cost more to fix it than it is worth at the moment. So I might as well get rid of the old one and get a new one. I think
also maybe there's a chance the Packers are saving cap and trying to pursue a Robbie Anderson or Emmanuel Sanders.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm okay with it. He's not that bad. I think the line's making him look worse than he is, and Aaron Rodgers will make him look pretty good for an offensive lineman.
They usually do that, yeah.
Bulaga's definitely much better than him.
Yeah.
So I'd give it a C.
My fault. So, we're moving on. Minnesota Vikings. They have 4 signings. So, C.J. Ham re-signed with the Vikings, 4-year, $12.25 million contract. This doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me. It's just a fullback.
He's probably the second best fullback in the league.
He's a pretty good fullback.
Fullback's pretty much a dying position anyways. Kyle Juszczyk's the only good fullback.
He's not even – they don't use him as a fullback, so, who cares?
Yeah. Anthony Harris, team placed a franchise tag on Anthony Harris. We assume that they would do this.
Breakout year.
Yeah, this is pretty important because he's been good for a while. He just had the interceptions to show for it this year.
Yeah.
Him and Harrison Smith are the best safety duo in the NFL. I don't want to hear anything else.
It's probably true.
It's true. They're probably 2 top 7 safeties in the league. And Anthony Harris is really good, by the way, for the record. And They might be trading him. I don't think they will. They're in a really horrible cap situation, and they have no cornerback. So having a coverage safety like Anthony Harris,
they lost Trey Waynes.
Really helpful. Mm-hmm. They'll probably have to take cornerbacks once or twice in the first round. Now they have that.
Of course. We'll talk about this later, but they got a haul for Stephon Diggs. I mean, compared to DeAndre Hopkins, which of course we'll talk about later. But
everything is compared to that shit trade.
Yeah. That was just freaking awful.
It's so bad. But moving on. Michael Pierce, defensive tackle, agreed to terms with the Vikings on a 3-year deal with a max value of $28 million. What do we make of this?
He's young.
He's really solid.
He fell off a little this year.
Yeah, he's been injured a bit.
I think he's better than Linval Joseph. This might mean that. Yeah.
Okay, so he's definitely not better than Linval Joseph in my opinion. But Linval Joseph gets injured every other play. He's big and he's old. That is not a good combination, especially for a nose tackle. Oh yeah, but Linval Joseph is one of the best nose tackles in the league. He's a giant in there. So I actually like the move for how much other players are getting paid. This is a really good deal for the Vikings, especially in their cap situation. I would give this a B+.
Just the one issue with this is I don't think they can keep Everson Griffin.
That would be Everson Griffin is kind of falling off a cliff. But I'm not sure what they're gonna.
It still helps out Danielle Hunter a lot. So I mean,
Yeah.
I would give this a B+ also. But if Everson Griffin has to walk because of this, which I'm not 100% sure on their cap situation, then it's down towards like a C because I prioritize another solid edge rusher over a run stuffer.
Okay.
Especially in their cap situation.
Eric Wilson, linebacker on the Vikings, placed a second-round tender on the restricted free agent. And if our audience doesn't know what that means, it means that they're saying if you give us a second-round pick, we'll give you Eric Wilson. Not a lot into this. It just seems like they just don't want to pay him, and he doesn't want to be there, and they're trying to get something out of him.
Well, with the tender, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to pay him because you're getting paid if you tender someone.
Yes.
It can go both ways. They can be really protective of someone if you put a tender on someone.
Yeah, like
so,
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
He's okay. Eric Hendrickson and Anthony Barr are a great linebacker duo, so he's just another rotation guy there. But I don't see any big risks with a second-round tender.
Yeah.
All right, on to our second division.
Wait, let's close this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
So thank you for listening. We're going to do the other divisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.